What's up guys, it's Raymond here with another video, and this video is going to be a spoiler review of the Avengers Endgame film that I watched yesterday. So I watched it in the cinemas yesterday, and I said to my brother before the film that expect to cry, because that's what a lot of the reviews on YouTube were saying. And I was actually kind of semi-joking, but I went to the film and I cried, I would say at least 3 times. And it wasn't the type of crying whereby you can actually stop it. In my opinion, there's 2 types of crying. There's a type of crying, which you can control, which your willpower can overpower and suppress, and eventually you'll be able to stop yourself from crying. And there's also a type of crying whereby it's impossible for your willpower to suppress it. It's just there's too much emotion behind it, behind the expression, and you just can't prevent yourself from crying. And I had type 2, so I'm not going to say exactly what happened. Actually, I should, because it's a spoiler review. So just to be warned, if you're watching this video, this is a spoiler review. So yeah, if you don't want any spoilers, I would definitely suggest that you don't watch this video from now. So okay, so I'm going to continue. All right, cool. So the different points in the movie where I cried were, I would say when Iron Man. Actually, no. I would say I didn't cry, but I was on the verge of crying when Captain Marvel saved Iron Man and Nebula from space. I was like, that just gave me hope. I was like, I knew that they had to survive, but in the movie, during that scene, I was when they were in space and Iron Man was making a video to tell Pepper that he's gonna die in about a day because oxygen's gonna run out, and he's basically in deep space, over 200 light years from the nearest, I think it was, he said he's over 200 light years from the nearest, I can't remember, it was like a really popular restaurant like McDonald's or something. And yeah, so, and then Captain Marvel was like, it was crazy because like there was the scene was, the way it happened was like there was like a big Iron Man was basically on the verge of dying. He was basically like just about to die, and then he was like really exhausted, and he had his eyes closed, and then it was just a matter of time until the next day, until his body just gave up and the oxygen ran out, and then you just see a really big flash of light, and then it was like a continuous like flash of light. It wasn't just like a big flash of light and it went back to darkness. It was just like a continual flash of light in front of Iron Man. And then you would expect like the cinematographers, the producers of the film, to like just go to change the camera straight to the flash of light, but it didn't. It was like just the camera was straight on Iron Man's face for like, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds, which was quite long considering the suspense in that scene. And then finally, Iron Man opened his eyes after like 10-20 seconds, which is very long. And then it showed the flash of light, and it was, behold, Captain Marvel. And she carried the Quinjet, which was what the spaceship that Nebula and Iron Man were on. She carried the Quinjet all the way 200 light years. 200 light years, I think it was. All the way to to Earth, which is crazy because technically it should take 200 years. Anyway, I'm not going to go into the mathematics of it. That's crazy actually. They were quite far anyway. So she took all the way to, maybe she has time travel. Anyway, all the way to all the way to Earth, and they were received by Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Black Widow. No, sorry, not Scarlet Witch, Black Widow. What's his name? Iron Patriot. I keep forgetting his name. Yeah, that guy. Captain America, I think I already said. And Pepper Potts. Those are the only guys. Oh, and I think, yeah, those are the only 4 guys that are still at the Avengers facility. And yeah, they were arrived. Just one second, I'm just going to check my chicken real quick. So yeah. So they arrived at the facility, and yeah, it was crazy. So they were all like hugging, crying and everything. And then that bit wasn't too emotional, I think, on the part of Marvel. I think it was just the acting wasn't, in my opinion, the acting wasn't portrayed in the best way, like in the most emotional way, I guess, because Tony Stark was extremely exhausted, so he couldn't exactly cry. I don't think he had a lot of water in his body, I guess. But anyway, the next part of this, the next scene in the film that actually made me cry was when Tony Stark died. So basically, what happened is Tony Stark. Actually, no. Another emotional part was when Bruce Banner took on the mantle of the person that was going to snap because basically they went back in time to collect all of the stones and bring it to the future. And basically, once they'd done that, everybody was trying to see who's the best person to do the snap. And they needed to find a suitable candidate that wouldn't die. And it was, behold, the Hulk, because he's technically made of gamma radiation. His cells are either absorbents of gamma radiation or are made entirely of gamma radiation. But I think it's the absorbents of gamma radiation. And when Thanos done the snap in Avengers Infinity War, the majority of the radiation that came out of the energy surge was gamma radiation. So technically, seen as Hulk's body, so Hulk cells are absorbents of gamma radiation. His body should be most suitable for doing the snap, and he's very physically strong as well. So, and he has a very advanced healing factor. So Hulk done the snap. Originally, I think who was it that someone else volunteered, and then Bruce Banner Hulk, as Professor Hulk, finally took on the mantle, and he gave a valid reason as to why he should do it. And nobody had any arguments. They agreed that he should be the one that should do it. He finally done it, and basically his arm, he wanted to snap his fingers to break everyone back, and his arm, his arm basically ended up the same way Thanos' arm ended up. It was completely mangled. It was like super skinny because like it was just like fried. It was crazy, and he had to be in an arm brace, and but you could tell it was giving him a lot of pain. He survived. He survived perfectly fine. He didn't. It gave him more pain than it gave Thanos. So I think Thanos is more of a physically or psychologically stronger person than Hulk is, because Thanos held the stones, absorbed the radiation from the stones or the power surge from the stones a lot better than Bruce Banner Hulk did. But anyway, he done the snap and everybody came back. Everybody came back. It was crazy. So it wasn't actually Tony Stark that brought everyone back. It was actually Bruce Banner the Hulk that brought everyone back. And yeah, everyone came back, and this was validated because Hawkeye, who came back as a Ronin, he got a call from his wife who had disappeared from the snap, and she called him once the snap happened, and he started crying, and he was like, "Yep, everyone's back." And then so the next part of the film that made me cry. So far, I haven't cried up to this point yet. I've been on the verge of crying, but not that close. The part when Iron Man died, when Tony Stark died, because he'd done the snap, basically what happened is Tony Stark made a gauntlet, and that's how Bruce Banner was able to snap the fingers. Tony Stark made a gauntlet from nanoparticles, and basically he didn't know what the end game was, because you need to remember now that by this time Doctor Strange is back, and Doctor Strange said that out of 501 possibility, or 401 possibility, 1401 possibilities, only one possibility enabled the Avengers to win, or only one out of those possibilities was it the case that the Avengers won. So yeah, and Tony Stark was trying to figure out what the possibility was. And during the final battle against Thanos, they tried to figure out. Tony Stark tried to figure out what the possibility was, and so he asked Doctor Strange, "What out of the possibilities? You said one possibility is it's only one possibility whereby we can win, right?" And then Doctor Strange said yes. And then Tony Stark asked Doctor Strange, so what is the possibility? Because at that point they were losing the battle against Thanos. Like, they were throwing everything they had at Thanos. It was Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America against Thanos, and they were all losing. It was Captain Marvel even jumped in. Like, they were just losing. Like, Thanos is a very, very experienced hand-to-hand combatant. Like, people underestimate his hand-to-hand combat skills. He's very, very large, but he's also very, very skilled at like man-to-man warfare. Like, he took on like 5 people at once, and he was just like destroying them. Like, it was crazy. Like, he's not only very strong, he's also very, very good at fighting. And so back to the main point. So for the question of who's stronger, Thor or Captain Marvel, the answer I believe is, I personally think what's based on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I think Captain Marvel is stronger. Simply because when Thor was fighting Thanos in hand-to-hand combat, Thor Thor was losing pretty obviously. But when Captain Marvel was punching Thanos, it didn't really do much. But at a point, but the thing with Captain Marvel is that I think she can increase her strength based on like her willpower and her anger. Anyway, back to the main point. Iron Man died because he snapped his fingers, and he basically got rid of Thanos and all of the people associated with Thanos. That killed him because of the energy surge. Iron Man is only human, so he can only absorb so much radiation. So he was alive for like a few minutes, and everyone was crying, and he died. Before that, Black Widow died because she had to sacrifice herself for Ronan to get the Soul Stone. The Soul Stone requires a sacrifice. They went back in time to get the Soul Stone. They basically done what Thanos would have had to do, had done. So Black Widow sacrificed herself. She couldn't be brought back because the way in which she died was a sacrifice to the Soul Stone. So when it comes to that, I don't think you can revive anyone that was brought back by the Soul Stone because otherwise, the Soul Stone requires a soul in order for you to use it, in order for the user to access it. And if you sacrifice somebody or something you love in order to access the Soul Stone, no matter which point in time you access the Soul Stone, you've sacrificed someone, and therefore you would have never had access to the Soul Stone. So bringing someone back using the Infinity Gauntlet would have had to mean that you would have never had the Soul Stone because you would have never made that sacrifice. So you can't bring anyone back if you use them to sacrifice. If you sacrifice them to use the Soul Stone. So anyway, that made me cry. So far I've cried twice, and at the end, so sad. Captain America went back in time finally to be with his wife. He got married to her. I can't remember her name, but it was I think Agent Coulson or Peggy Carter, the girl that he liked when he was in the war. It turns out she actually liked him way before he actually got the body transformation. Like, she had a picture of him with his minuscule body before he got the transformation on her desk. And when he saw that, when he went back in time, he was just gobsmacked. I think everyone was like, she wasn't like superficial. She didn't like him based on his body. She liked him because of his mentality. Captain America is a very, very strong leader, and he has very, very strong moral values and principles. And yeah, he went back in time to put all the stones back after Tony Stark wiped all of Thanos' army out. And he went back in time, and he came back and he was old. So that's the end of Captain America as well, I guess, because he can't be Captain America anymore because he's old. The new Captain America, by the way, is Falcon. He's going to be Falcon. So I'm excited to see the future of the MCU. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. See you in the next one.